Hi again folks, welcome back to Meaningful Money. I'm still in Porthgwarra Cove, down in the very far western tip of Cornwall, but this is slightly different view, and this sort of tunnel behind me leads right down. It's like a kind of a slipway, leads right down to the sea, so I imagine they would pull the boats up here in the olden days away from the storm, but also they would, I think, not sure, I think they would hang the fish out to dry in the tunnel behind me. So it's amazing, just a granite tunnel cut into the rock. This little hamlet of Porthgwarra is also like my wife's family seat. Her ancestors built the cottages just behind the camera, which I'll switch to now so that you can see. My wife's family built those houses well, over 100 years ago, possibly even 150. You think I'd do my research before I started doing this, but you know, it's not really as important as what I'm about to tell you about. Last time we talked about gilts. This time we're talking about their closely related cousins, corporate bonds. Now, do you remember when we were talking about gilts? A gilt is essentially an IOU between me, the investor, and the UK government. And there are three important pieces of information on it: the amount the government has borrowed from me, the yield, the interest rate they're going to give me, and the redemption date that they're going to give me my money back. Now, a corporate bond is exactly the same, except rather than a loan between me and the government, it's a loan between me and a company, hence the name, a corporate bond. The unfortunate thing is that in financial services the word bond means about 6 different things, but this is what they normally are taken to mean. It's a corporate bond. It's an IOU between me and a company. So the same things apply. The amount, the yield, the date of redemption, those things are set in stone, but the IOUs themselves are traded on the stock market. Now, the difference really between gilts and corporate bonds is that where there is only one UK government, and they're a pretty safe bet for the money apparently, even in these straitened times, there are many companies to choose from. So let's say a company like Marks and Spencer's, for example, wants to raise some money. They can either issue a share offer, which I'll come to again, or they can simply ask to borrow the money. They can do that from a bank, or they can do that from individual investors, and if they do that, that is called a corporate bond. So let's say Marks and Spencer's want to come to me and borrow £100. Exactly the same things would apply with them as they do with gilts: the amount, the yield, and the maturity redemption date. Marks and Spencer's, you'd think, are a pretty good company though. They are, you know, pretty, well, they've been around a long time. They've been paying a dividend, I think, for the most part. You're pretty safe, secure, household name and things like that. But what if my company, Jackson's, wanted to raise some money? Well, we're a tin pot little company in Penzance. We've been around quite a while, but not as long as Marks and Spencer's. What if we wanted to borrow money? What you've got is a scale of quality between companies. You've got big, well-established, safe companies, very unlikely to go bust. And at the bottom end of the scale, you've got companies who are maybe a higher credit risk, small companies. So you have a scale with corporate bonds, from high to low. At the top end, you have what we call AAA, top quality corporate bonds, issued by AAA, top quality, highly credit-worthy companies. Normally BP would sit at the top of that stack, and they probably still do, but it just shows you, it goes to show how easily a company can fall from favour. But at the top you have top quality, high quality companies. At the bottom you have lower quality companies. At the top you have, generally speaking, a low yield. Because the companies at the top of the scale are safe and secure, they know they're going to be able to borrow that money no problem. They're always going to have plenty of people wanting to lend them that money. So they don't need to offer a massively high interest rate to attract that money. Companies at the bottom of the scale could possibly go bust, and therefore they need to offer an incentive to their lenders to lend the money, and they do that by a higher interest rate or high yield. That might be a term you've heard, high yield corporate bonds. They sit at the bottom of this quality scale, but they can be useful because of the high yield, high interest rate. A fund which holds corporate bonds can either hold the whole, across the range from the top quality to the lower quality, the low yield to the high yield. It can hold all those things, or it could be a narrowly focused fund for a high yield corporate bond fund, which will only buy bonds at the bottom of the scale. but which will offer a very high interest rate as a rule, a high yield. So that's corporate bond, almost identical to gilts, but with this scale of quality and scale of risk and scale of income attached as well. So another really important part of a portfolio. For what it's worth, most people understand shares, but bonds are by far and away the most traded asset on the world stock markets. So it's important you understand them, and it's important that you hold them as part of any balanced portfolio. That's corporate bonds. So next time we're going to talk about shares, something which most people know something about, even if all you've got is a couple of hundred Santander shares that you had when Abbey National became a bank. So stay tuned for next time, and thanks again for watching.